I've always been drawn to places people forget. Old malls, deserted neighborhoods, abandoned hospitals. There's something about the silence, the decay, the way nature starts to reclaim what we built. I'm not a professional urban explorer or anything, but I bring a decent camera and sometimes post my findings online. This story happened about a year ago, and I haven't gone exploring since. It was a Sunday afternoon when I drove out to an old psychiatric hospital a few miles outside the city. It had been closed for decades after a series of incidents. The place had a reputation, but there wasn't much info about it online, just rumors and vague warnings. I parked far off the road and walked the last stretch through overgrowth and half-collapsed fencing. Getting in was easy. Someone had already broken a side window. The smell hit me first, mildew, chemicals, and something sour underneath it all. The inside looked like every abandoned place I'd ever been to. Cracked walls, overturned furniture, broken tiles. My flashlight swept over murals in what used to be a children's ward. Faded clowns, stars peeling off the wall. But what really struck me was the cold. It was summer outside, but in there, it felt like late October. I was about ready to head back when I found a hallway that didn't match the rest of the building. The tiles were cleaner, the walls less damaged. At the far end stood a thick steel door with West Wing locked stenciled on it in red paint. Naturally, I had to see what was behind it. The lock had been busted a long time ago. I gave the door a push, and it creaked open just wide enough for me to slip through. The temperature dropped instantly. This wing hadn't just been abandoned. It had been erased. No graffiti, no signs of looting. The air was heavier. Doors lined both sides of the hall, each with a little metal viewing slot, like solitary cells. Some doors hung open, some were shut tight, and then I saw the carvings. Symbols, circles, strange markings etched into the walls with something sharp. They weren't in any language I recognized. The silence was overwhelming. No wind, no rats, not even the sound of dripping pipes. Just me, and the feeling that something was watching. Then I found room 237. The door was different, reinforced, sealed with rusted chains and a heavy padlock. A dusty sign was still visible under the grime. Do not open under any circumstances. I should have walked away, but instead, I leaned in to take a photo. That's when I heard it. 3 knocks from inside the room. I froze, tried to convince myself it was just the old building settling. Maybe something fell. Then came a whisper. You shouldn't be here. It was right behind me, right at my ear. I spun around, nothing there. Just the long, empty hallway. I turned back to room 237 and stopped cold. At the end of the corridor where I'd come in, there was something. A shape, tall, thin, motionless. I aimed my flashlight, but it flickered, then went out for a second. When it came back, the hallway was empty. I didn't wait. I ran, hard, back through the West Wing, through the broken window, across the brush, and straight to my car. I didn't even look back. That night, I couldn't sleep. The next morning, I checked the pictures on my camera. Most were blurry. I must have been shaking. But one photo stopped me cold. It was the picture of room 237. In the tiny glass viewing window of the door was a face. Pale, hollow, staring directly at the camera. Its mouth was open like it was screaming, but there was no sound. I deleted it right away. I deleted everything. But sometimes, even now, when I'm lying in bed late at night, I hear 3 knocks and a whisper in the dark. There's a place near where I grew up that everyone pretends doesn't exist. It's not on any maps. No road signs. Just a whisper at the edge of town, tucked behind a long-forgotten dirt path. Locals call it the park, but never with a smile. When I was a kid, I asked my mom why no one ever went there. She just said, "It's not a place for good memories." That was all. I didn't think about it again until last summer when I came back to visit home for the first time in years. I was staying at a friend's cabin deep in the woods, and during one drunken night around the fire, someone brought up the park. No one had been there in decades. No one wanted to go, except me. I don't know why I was so drawn to it. Maybe curiosity, maybe the beer, maybe something else. But the next day, I grabbed my phone, a flashlight, and followed the old trail that hadn't been walked in years. It took almost an hour to find the rusted gates. They were bent and crooked, half swallowed by the forest. The sign above them had no name, just peeling paint and broken lights. Inside, the amusement park lay in ruins. Cracked pavement, dead trees strangling old rides, a carousel frozen mid-spin, a Ferris wheel towering silently above the treetops. It should have felt peaceful. It didn't. The moment I stepped through the gate, I felt watched. I chalked it up to nerves and pressed on, taking photos and tried to ignore the weird quiet. Just wind and creaking metal. I wandered for maybe 20 minutes before I heard it. Faint at first, just a flicker in the background. Laughter. Not the kind you'd expect from kids playing. This was different. Slow. Repetitive. Like someone was playing a loop too long. I thought maybe I was imagining things, but then it got louder and clearer. It was coming from the old fun house near the back of the park. Of course, I went inside. The door was cracked, and the interior reeked of rot and wet carpet. Mirrors lined the first hallway, though most were shattered. My flashlight flickered, bouncing shadows across the warped reflections. The laughter kept going, still looping, still wrong, and now was joined by something else. Calliope music, like an old carousel tune, warbled and off-key, echoing from somewhere deeper inside. I should have turned back, but something about the sound, it felt like it was calling me. I pushed deeper into the funhouse. Around every corner, I expected something to jump out, some raccoon or squatters. But there was nothing, just me, the laughter, the music, and the mirrors. Eventually, the hallway opened into a larger room filled with funhouse glass. Some mirrors stretched me out tall. Some made me squat and wide, and one didn't reflect me at all. I stood in front of it, waving my flashlight. No reflection. Then, slowly, the mirror began to glow from the inside, lit by some source behind it. And I saw something. Not me. Someone else. A man in a tattered park uniform, standing completely still. His head tilted too far to one side like it was broken. His mouth wide open in a permanent laugh. And then, he moved. Not in the mirror behind me. I spun around, but no one was there. When I looked back, the mirror was cracked, and the laughter had stopped. Dead silence. Then came the footsteps. From deeper in the building. Slow. Dragging. I ran. Down the twisting hallway. Through the broken door. Out into the overgrown park. As I passed the carousel, I stopped cold. It was moving. Lights flickering. Horses slowly turning. And on one of them, just for a second, I swear I saw someone riding. The same man from the mirror. Still laughing. But there was no sound. I bolted for the gates, never looking back. I didn't stop running until I made it back to my car. My phone was dead. No photos saved. Just a black screen. That night, as I lay in bed, I thought maybe I dreamed the whole thing. Maybe I inhaled mold, hallucinated, until I heard it, from outside my window, distant, but clear. Like a broken laugh track on repeat. I used to do overnight security work when I was in college. Nothing too serious, just temp gigs guarding old buildings set for renovation or demolition. Most nights were boring. Just me, a flashlight, and a log sheet. This one wasn't. It was an old apartment building on the edge of town. 12 floors, built sometime in the 70s, now gutted and left to rot. The company wanted a guard on site overnight to keep squatters and copper thieves out. I was supposed to patrol every 2 hours and spend the rest of the time in a makeshift security booth on the first floor. No electricity, no cameras, just a battery-powered radio and a weak LED lantern. I signed the log, did my first round, and settled in with a thermos of coffee and a paper bag. At around 2:15 a.m., I started my second patrol. The elevator didn't work, so I had to use the stairwell. The whole building felt like it had been drained of life. Graffiti covered most of the walls. Windows were boarded up or shattered, and everything echoed. My boots, my breath, even the creak of my flashlight handle, it all seemed too loud. I worked my way up to the 10th floor when I heard it. A door slamming somewhere above me. I froze. No wind. No open windows. No one else was supposed to be here. I radioed in, but the line was filled with static. I tried again, nothing. So I climbed. 11th floor. Empty hallway. Same as before. One long corridor of doors leading to abandoned units. I called out, "Security? Anyone here?" Silence. I took a few steps, and then I heard it, footsteps ahead of me, just around the bend. Quick, heavy. I followed, rounding the corner fast, but there was no one. What was there, though, was an apartment door, slightly open. The only one on the whole floor. I raised my flashlight and pushed it open. The unit inside was trashed, graffiti, burned carpet, walls torn down to the studs. But what caught my eye was the back wall. It was covered in something writing over and over in thick marker. "He's in the hall. He watches when it's dark. Don't turn your back." Goosebumps shot down my arms, and then I heard it again. Footsteps. Behind me. Fast. I turned, nearly tripping, and ran out into the hall. No one, just that heavy silence. I didn't finish my patrol. I took the stairs down, 2 at a time, and locked myself in the booth. I was done. But around 3:30, I saw something on the monitor. Let me clarify. There weren't real security cameras, but there was a cheap motion detector rigged to a buzzer with a small screen that showed activity at the front entrance. It went off. I looked and saw a figure standing just outside the building. Not moving, just staring at the camera. I sat frozen for what felt like minutes. Then the screen blinked, and the figure was gone. I tried the radio again. Still static. At 6 a.m., my replacement arrived. I didn't say much, just handed over the log and left. But before I went, I checked the stairs one more time, just to prove to myself it was all in my head. Everything looked normal, except for one thing. Written in marker on the stairwell wall, just below the 11th floor landing, were 4 fresh words. "I saw you too." If you ever feel tempted to explore an abandoned place, maybe think twice. Some doors were never meant to be opened. Good night.